Welcome to this web series, The Frugal Mindset, also known as Money and the Responsible Christian. This is the first segment of the Frugal Mindset Money Skills section of the webinar, but it's our 11th segment overall, and in this one we're going to talk about the 4 frugal questions. This is the first episode of the financial skills or frugal mindset portion of this webinar. So let me ask you a question. What does it mean to be frugal? What does frugal mean? Let me read you a couple definitions from the internet, then I'm going to give you the definition that we're going to use. So these are a couple of definitions from various dictionaries. One, characterized by or reflecting economy in the use of resources. Okay, that's a pretty good definition. Another one says, not wasteful, not spending freely or unnecessarily, thrifty, economical, not costly or luxurious, inexpensive. Now again, that's not a bad definition, but we're going to have a slightly different definition for the purpose of this class. For us, frugal means this: wise and economical in the use of money, thrifty and prudently saving, buying luxuries wisely when you can afford it, it is appropriate, it makes sense, and it is truly worth it to you. Let me do that again. Wise and economical in the use of money, thrifty and prudently saving, buying luxuries wisely when you can afford it, it is appropriate, it makes sense, and it is truly worth it to you. Now, as I said in the introduction to this webinar, the frugal mindset and the 4 frugal questions and the 3 need questions are a potential option to get your finances and keep your finances in order outside of having to formally budget. As I started preparing the seminar, my wife and I talked. We realized even when we were living on $600 a month and we were full-time students with a baby, we did not budget because we just didn't feel we could afford to budget. We just didn't spend any money that we didn't have. And now that we're not poor, we still don't budget. And then during the years when I was making a fairly good income, I didn't budget because my income could vary dramatically from one year to another. So if we don't budget, then how did we do it? How did we get through the really lean years? How do we do it now without budgeting? And it's by having a frugal mindset. And I think I mentioned to you also when I was discussing with a lot of people how to deal with money. My son made the point of being frugal is a habit. It's just a habit to be frugal. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's the way you need to get in the habit of being frugal. It's a mindset. It needs to be your default setting. I'm just going to be frugal. And you don't even think about it. That's just the way you operate. You operate from a frugal principle. And like I say, if you get frugal down, if it becomes second nature to you, once you get your finance straightened around, and we'll talk more about that in the next couple of episodes. But once you get your finances straightened around and you have the frugal mindset, then you likely will never need to budget again. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but you'll have to bear with me. Also, I think it's generally true that financially successful people are frugal. Not always, but normally financially successful people. So I'm not talking about the Elon Musk or the Jeff Bezos guys, but the normally financially successful people are generally frugal. That's part of how they got to be financially successful. And frugal should be your default setting, a habit, a state of mind. And when I say frugal, I mean frugal in all things large and small because it's your default setting. Now let me give you kind of a silly example, but I think a great example of how I am still frugal today. My wife and I eat out periodically, and the only fast food restaurant that I really like is Chick-fil-A. And you go to Chick-fil-A, you get a regular drink, or you can upsell your drink for an extra 40 cents, get a large. And if I happen to be buying my meal and then driving away, I will get the large drink. But if I'm eating there, which I normally do, I never get the large drink. It's only 40 cents. It's only 40 cents I'm saving. But why get the large drink when you can get free refills? And frankly, I need the exercise anyway, just getting up and walking over to get a refill on my Coke Zero. So how do you develop these frugal habits, this frugal mindset? This is the essence of this entire approach to financial responsibility. First, the 4 frugal questions. 1, can I afford it? 2, is it appropriate? 3, is this the best route? And 4, is it worth it? Again, can I afford it? Is it appropriate? Is it the best route? And is it truly worth it to me? Now let me go through each one of these in turn. First, can I afford it? What does that mean? Can I afford it? It means I can either pay cash or write a check for the full amount. For the full amount. Not I can afford the payments. No, we don't do payments with a frugal mindset. It's can I write a check for the full amount or pay cash for the full amount, and it won't mess up my other financial priorities. And you can afford all of the accoutrements with whatever it is you're buying. For example, if you're buying a car, you can afford the insurance, the maintenance, etc. Now, you say, well, wait a minute, well, I really need this. Need is a different issue. These are the 4 frugal questions. The 4 frugal questions, if you answer yes to all of them, buy whatever you want. Whether it be, a large a large glass of pop at the restaurant, or it be a Ferrari. Doesn't matter. If you answer yes to all 4 of these frugal questions, then you can absolutely buy it. But the first of the frugal questions is, can I afford it? And can I afford it means I can write a check for the whole amount and it won't mess up my other financial priorities. I can write a check for the whole amount and it won't mess up our other financial priorities. That's if you have a family as plural. We can write a check for the full amount and it won't mess up our other financial priorities. So the second frugal question, is it appropriate? Let's talk about that. Well, obviously that's a very, very broad question. What is appropriate and what isn't appropriate? Well, it is a broad question, and it needs to be a broad question because there's a lot of things that go into it. And what's appropriate for one person will definitely not be appropriate for another. Now, some things are probably inappropriate for all of us, but like I say, what is appropriate for one person often isn't necessarily appropriate for the next person down the road. What are the considerations? Well, like I say, it's very broad. There are lots of different options, but one of them is it pleasing to God? Is this something that God would be happy with me spending my money on? So is it something I want? Is it something I have a legitimate use for? Am I buying it because I will enjoy it, or my family will enjoy it, or my kids will enjoy it, or am I buying it because I want to show up my neighbors? I want to show how super successful I am. That's probably not the right motivation. If it'll help my family have a more comfortable life, or if it's something I've always wanted, then that's probably okay. Now, in this context of whether it's appropriate, I'm going to introduce a word to you probably most of you have never heard of. It's the word adiaphora. And adiaphora is a word used by theologians, and it means something neither commanded nor condemned. And most of what we do in life is really adiaphora. A lot of the things God doesn't care. Sometimes he does. And if God tells you to do something, you better do it. But so much of the time, our choices aren't right or wrong. It's not something that is inappropriate or appropriate. It's okay. It's neither demanded, neither condemned nor required. It's adiaphora. So if something is adiaphora, then the bottom line is and you can answer yes to the other 3 questions, then fine, go ahead and buy it. So then the third question, is this the best route? Let me give you a quick story here. My wife and I have a 45-foot RV, and we tow a car behind it. So altogether, we're about 65 feet. And we had some work done on the RV in Eugene, Oregon one time, and then we went to the coast. And on the way to the coast, I asked Sandy to see if she could find a place we could stop and I could have a sandwich. So we were on our way, and she said, okay, there's a right turn coming up here. Take that, and then about a mile down the road, there's a rest area. So we did that, and that little road on the right was a pretty modest country road. So we took the turn and drove down a mile, and the rest area was really no more than a picnic area where a couple of cars could park. There was no way I could get my bus in there. So we decided, well, we need to turn around, but there was no place there to turn around. So I thought, well, I'll just go on down, and then if, according to the map on Google, we had an option of just kind of making a circle. We'd go down a few more miles and then we'd circle. And so I thought, well, if I don't find a turnaround spot, then I'll just go down further and make a circle, because you can't back up with when you're towing a car in a bus. And so I drove on for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 miles, whatever it was, and there was never a place to turn around. And so I said, well, okay, we'll just make the big circle and come back. And so we started the circle, and we went about a mile on the circle, and the road just kept getting less and less traveled. And next thing we know, the road becomes a gravel road. So I became a little, this doesn't look great, but I thought, okay, it says it comes back out. So I kept going up that gravel road. The next thing I know, I'm on a narrow single lane gravel road going up a mountain. And so now I knew I had made a mistake. But there was no place I could turn around right there because it was a one-lane road. So I needed to find a place. Either I needed to back up, a mile to the nearest place I could turn around, or I needed to go ahead a little bit and see if I could find a place to turn around. And it was a mountain road, so there are curves and stuff. So I didn't want to, even disconnecting the car and backing the bus up made me very nervous. So what we did is we disconnected the car, and Sandy sat with the car, and I drove up ahead so I could see if we were going to be able to get out. And there was a place at the top of the hill where there was a crossroad. And so I thought, well, if worst comes to worst, I can probably, with the car disconnected, I can probably turn and maneuver and get the bus out of here. But I thought, it's only a couple miles further, although it's a gravel road. If I go slow, I should be okay, and just go straight, and then I can just get back on that little country road. And I went on, and just before the entrance to the country road, or just before the intersection with the paved country road, there was a railroad trestle, and it was only about 10 foot tall. So I couldn't get my 13-foot bus under a 10-foot railroad trestle. So I drove back to where Sandy was at. I drove the bus up to the area. I very carefully and slowly got it maneuvered around so I could turn around, come back down the way I'd come. Then when we hit the pavement, then we hooked the bus up again and took off. But I had visions of potentially rolling this bus on this one-lane gravel road in the mountain. Everybody wondering, why did this idiot do that? Well, I certainly did feel like an idiot, and rightfully so. But is it the best route? That gravel road was definitely not the best route for me in that bus. And of course, when you're driving something like that, you really have to be a little careful about your routing. So when it comes to money, is it the best route mean? Well, is this the best route? Certainly price is part of it, but it's not so much an issue of price as an issue of value. And best route for you doesn't necessarily mean best route for the next person. Let me give you a couple of examples. So tools. Harbor Freight has some inexpensive tools. If you're a weekend warrior and you want a tool that you may use a few times, or maybe once a year for 4 or 5 years or something like that, then a Harbor Freight tool may be perfectly appropriate. But if you're a professional mechanic or professional carpenter, there's a good chance you want a better quality tool than a Harbor Freight tool. And I'm not knocking Harbor Freight. I just know some of their tools are low end. I bought tools at Harbor Freight. I bought tools at Lowe's. I bought tools at Home Depot. They all have their pros and cons. Let me give you another example. I bought a miter saw. I like to work around the house. I like to do projects, and I also have some rentals, and I worked on some of the rentals, and so I decided I would buy a decent miter saw. So I bought a DeWalt miter saw and a DeWalt miter saw table. And in the process of looking at the miter saw, at the time the miter saw was on sale. I don't remember what the price was, maybe $300 for the miter saw. But I could have bought a sliding miter saw. And so if the regular miter saw was $300, its regular price was $4, the sliding miter saw was $5. And so it was a lot less expensive on sale to buy the regular miter saw. But I'll tell you, there's been many times since then I wish I'd bought the sliding miter saw, because there's been numerous times I've had to use a different kind of saw where the miter saw, if it had been a sliding miter saw, would have been a lot more convenient, a lot faster to get a cut done than I needed to make. So is it the best value? Is it the best thing? Is it the best route? Is this the best route? It's about value, it's about cost, it's about your finances, and it's about what makes sense for you under your circumstances. Then the fourth frugal question is it worth it to me or worth it to my family to spend the money on this? Now you've saved up all the money, you can afford it. You've chosen what is a good route, what makes sense, it's appropriate, there's nothing wrong with what you're going to buy. And then the question is it still worth it to you? Because you'll find if you actually save up the money first, you're going to be less inclined to blow your money. If you're just making payments or you're going to put it on the credit card, you'll actually find out you spend more money. And if you're actually paying cash for things, writing checks for things, you'll find you spend less money. So the last question you want to ask yourself, the fourth question is it worth it? I've saved up all my money, it's appropriate, there's nothing wrong with it, and it is a good value, but is it worth it to me? So again, what are the four questions? 1, can I afford it? 2, is it appropriate? 3, is this the best route? 4, is it worth it? Let me do that again in the plural. 1, can my family afford it? 2, is it appropriate? 3, is this the best route? Is this the best way to scratch that itch? And 4, is it worth it to us after we've saved up our money? Is this the way our family wants to spend our money? If the answer to all 4 of those questions is yes, you can absolutely buy it. God doesn't insist that we be poor. It's not wrong to have nice things. It is wrong to think God owes us nice things, but there's nothing wrong with having nice things, and God often will bless us with nice things if we act appropriately about money. Now let me give you a couple examples about frugal and how it works from the small to the large. We talked about the soft drink. Let me show you a couple of prices recently at Walmart. You could buy a can of Del Monte corn for $1.57, or you could buy a can of Great Value corn for 67 cents. Now, probably it doesn't matter. You can probably afford either can of corn, but you go through the frugal questions, and once you get it down, you go through them innately. So, can I afford it? Well, sure, you can afford either one. Is it appropriate? Well, yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with it. Is it the best value? Well, there you go. Now that's the question. Now some people would rather have the Del Monte corn. They think there's a difference in quality. And some people say corn's all the same, just buy a can of corn. So what is the answer there? Well, it just depends upon you. But for me, I buy the store brand corn because I don't think there's a difference when it comes to canned corn. And then finally, is it worth it? I've saved up all my money. I can afford this can of corn. Is it worth it? Well, I'm buying the value one anyway, so it's clearly worth it. So then let's go. Let's give us another example. Let's talk about Chex cereal. Okay, corn Chex cereal is what I eat periodically. That's the cereal that I eat. So basically, there was 2 options for corn Chex in the 18-ounce version. The name brand corn Chex was $4.97 or 27.6 cents per ounce, and the Great Value brand is only 15.1 cents per ounce or $2.72 for an 18-ounce box. So with corn Chex, let me run through the analysis for you, the way I see it. Can I afford it? Well, it doesn't matter which one. I can afford it. Is it appropriate? Sure, it doesn't matter. It's adiaphora. Is it the best route? Well, again, either one, it doesn't matter. Though I think the Great Value is certainly the better value. But is it worth it? For me, I don't know what the difference is, but where I bought the Great Value once and I didn't like it as well. So for me, it's worth it to buy the more expensive box of corn Chex, the name brand box of Chex. Unlike the can of corn, for the corn Chex, it's worth it to me. Let me give you another example. Let's talk coffee. So you can make a cup of coffee at home. I did some review. You can make a cup of coffee for about $0.25. So that would be 25 cents for a cup, 25 cents for 1 cup, $1.25 a week, or $65 a year for coffee if you make your coffee at home. But if you go to Starbucks and you buy a coffee, depending upon what it is, including the tip, it's more likely to be about $6. So $6 a day. In a week, that's $30. And in a year, that's $1,560. So let's go through the 4 frugal questions. Can I afford it? Well, maybe you've got money and it doesn't matter. So yeah, you can afford it. Is it appropriate? Well, maybe, sure. If you want to have Starbucks coffee, if you think that's better, then maybe it is appropriate. Maybe that is appropriate. Is it the best route? Well, if that's really what you want, maybe it is the best route. Or maybe there's another coffee. Maybe there's another drive-through coffee shop that has just as good a coffee that's a little bit cheaper. That's $1 or $2 cheaper. And then the final one, is it worth it? So even if you can afford it, is it worth it? I would submit that for most of us, probably it's not worth it. All right, let me give you another example of the frugal principles. Let me talk about a pickup truck I bought a couple of years ago. I kind of wanted a Ford because I'd had a little more luck with Fords than I had with the Chevys I'd had. I did want a long bed. I wanted a 4x4, and I wanted a decent-sized smart screen. I wanted a tow package because I knew I was potentially going to be towing things occasionally. I wanted leather seats, and I wanted really good lumbar support. I found a brand new Ram truck that had mostly what I wanted in it sitting on a lot in Seattle. It had been sitting there over a year, was brand new. A customer had ordered it and then refused to pick it up. And it mostly had what I wanted. It did not have leather seats. That was the big thing it didn't have. But as my wife pointed out, leather seats maybe aren't that great idea in Texas anyway, where it gets so hot. And I couldn't care less about model year, and I couldn't care less about brand as long as the reliability was roughly similar. So I bought that. I bought that Ram truck from Seattle for $33,000 for a brand new full-size pickup truck with the 4x4 with the long bed. Because I think if you can't put a full-size piece of plywood in the bed of your pickup truck, it's not really a pickup truck. So going through these 4 questions, could we afford it? Yes, we could afford it. Is it appropriate? Yes, it was appropriate. Was it the best route? I thought saving the money and buying the $33,000 brand new pickup truck was the best route. And was it worth it? It absolutely wasn't. So yes, I answered the 4 frugal questions in the affirmative, and I bought that $33,000 pickup, paid cash for it. I was very happy. So what happens if you answer no to any one of the frugal questions? Then you can't justify buying it under the frugal test. And the only way you should be spending money on it is if it passes the 3 need questions. This episode was the 4 frugal questions. 1, can I afford it? 2, is it appropriate? 3, is this the best route? And 4, is it worth it to me? Again, can I afford it? Is it appropriate? Is this the best route? And is it worth it to me? And if you properly apply these 4 frugal questions, once you get your financial situation in order, they may well negate your need to do a formal budget. All right, our next episode will be the 3 need questions. Thanks for listening.